Okay. So now you're going to go in with your red. Just dip your brush in a little bit of red, and you can paint that in right here where it says red on the top of that color wheel. And then it's going to go in two other places as well. It's also going to go up here where it says intensity, and it's labeled red. And it will also go down here under primary hues. And the order of these ones doesn't really matter that much. You can get as never mind. So the order doesn't really matter quite as much, but we're going to get all these three primaries on there. So the next one I'm going to do is yellow. Pop that in right here. Also down here. And a little bit more up here. Okay, so those three spots. Rinse again, dry it off on the rag, get a little bit of blue, and put that over here. All right, so those are all the colors that you have to buy. You have to buy the primary colors. You can't really mix them on your own. I mean, I suppose you could if you're going to get out some, minerals and such, make up your own paints, but I don't know about you. That just doesn't sound very good to me. I don't have enough time for that. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, cut. Next. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the secondary colors. These are the ones that are mixed with the primaries. So each primary combination will create a secondary. So the way that you know that you reached your secondary color is that it no longer looks like either of the primaries. So for example, I know already that this yellow paint is pretty weak. So it's going to have, I'm going to have to put a lot more of that into the mixture. So I'm just going to scoop away a little bit of red, maybe a little bit more. And then I'm going to give myself a decent amount of yellow. And play around with that. See, to me, this looks like a pretty good orange because it doesn't look red anymore and it doesn't look yellow. I'm going to call that a new color. That's going to be our orange. So now I'm going to put that right here in 3 spots in the orange box. Also down here under secondary. And right over here across from blue, because it is directly across from blue on the color wheel. Now rinse your brush. I guess you don't really need to. Now you're going to divide up this pile in half with your brush. And on one side, you're going to add a little bit more red. You don't need all this paint really, so I'm just going to get a little bit of it right over here. So here is now my red orange, which can go right here. And then also right here. Then I'll rinse because I have a lot of red on my brush now. And I'll get myself a little more yellow and put that over here on the other side with a little bit of that orange to get myself a nice yellow orange. So it should be a color in between those two. And then these tertiaries, they only go in 2 spots. So go on the color wheel and over here under tertiary. All right, then you're going to rinse your brush, rinse your palette knife if you need to, wipe it off on the rag, and start again. So yellow is still weak in comparison to blue, so I'm going to get myself a little bit of blue, and then a decent amount of yellow. Come on. And then I'll mix that together and see what this gives me. And I may have overdone overdone it a little bit because it's still a little bit on the yellow side. So I'm going to grab a little bit more blue, pull that in. See if we can't get more of a green grass color. It's looking better, maybe a tiny bit more. Okay. Rinsing my brush, using the green. Put that right there. Also going to put this directly across from red, because again, it's directly across on the color wheel. And I'm also going to put this in the secondary hues. Okay, and again, I'm going to split my pile in half. More blue on one side. Maybe even a little more. And get a nice blue-green. That's really pretty color. Could maybe do a little more, I think. Yeah. There we go. And that's going to go over here as well, tertiary color. And I'll rinse my brush. Add some yellow. Notice I'm a little more lazy when it comes to these tertiary colors because you don't need quite as much of it. So I'm just getting myself a little bit on the brush and mixing on the palette. Here's my yellow-green. All right. Last set of primaries that create a secondary, blue and red. And blue and red seem like about equal in strength. So I'm going to try and do about equal parts there and see what I get. Here we go. It's a nice purple. Violet, purple, same thing. Place that right there. I usually find out a lot about people depending on how they fill out their little shapes here. See who all my type A students are. All right, there we go, purple. Now, oh, I missed one spot. It's also going down here under secondaries. Okay, now I'm going to get my little pile in half again. Do more red on this side. Get my red violet. It's a pretty color. Put that right in here. And also down in here under tertiaries. And then I'm going to get some blue and put blue on this side. And get myself a nice blue violet. Looks like a pretty like midnight blue. And over here in tertiaries as well. There we go. Okay, so now we have all the color wheel done. You have this pretty transition. You see the shift from all the colors. Cut. And now we're going to go and do neutralizing of colors. This is about intensity. So if you think about it, when you're painting on a canvas, the canvas is flat. There's really like no way to make a flat canvas appear to have some sort of dimension, make the foreground look close and the background look far away. How do you make that happen? And the way that you make that happen is actually with intensity. So you can change color to make it look further away by adding the opposite color. So this is a little bit of a demo to show how to do that and what the different colors are and all the wide variety of neutrals that you can get. So if you think about it, you break up this color wheel. If you go directly across from any one of these colors, so red to green, yellow to violet, orange to blue, blue violet to yellow orange, any of these colors, and all the ones in between all these, because as you know, there's like a lot of different variations between those as well. If you mix the opposite of any of those together, you'll get a brown. You neutralize the color. But if you put these two colors, these complementary colors, next to each other, for example, the red and the green, if you put red and green next to each other, the red looks more red and the green looks more green. But if you combine them, they neutralize. So it's really interesting. Color theory is crazy. You could actually do like a whole college course on just color theory alone. But we're going to try and simplify it for our purposes here. So let's start with this red and green. I'm going to get my piles back together and try and get back to an original green color. There we go. That looks nice. So we'll work with that. And again, because we don't need a ton of this, I'm going to start with working with my brush. So I'm going to get a little bit of red, put that over here, and then I'm going to get about equal amounts of green, if possible. But I'm going to make sure I save some of this green because I'm going to need it again soon. So the way I know that I got my neutral is it no longer looks like either of the colors that are going into it. So right now it still looks very red. So I think I need more green. So I'm adding more green to it until I get my brown. It's looking pretty good. A little bit more green. There you go. There you go. I think I'm almost there. There we have it. There's our brown color. So it's a nice neutral brown. So I'm going to put that right here in between the two. And now I'm going to split this in half. And on one side, I'll add a little bit more green. And on the other side, I'll add a little bit more red. So I'm going to add a little more green over here. Get it to shift a little bit more toward the green. And then the next one, I'm just going to do all green, the rest of the green with what's on my brush, so that it's basically green with just a little tint of red. There we go. Now I'll rinse my brush and work the other way. So now I'm going to get a little bit of red, put that in here, so it should be warmer. And then I'm going to get red on my brush and just use the brown I have on there to help neutralize it a little bit. There we go. So that's what we're going to do with the blue and the orange and the yellow and the purple. So again, I'll go over here and re-merge these. Make sure I'm at a good purple. That looks good. Rinse my brush really well. Start over. Okay, so a little bit of purple, a little bit of yellow. Mix those two together. Get myself a nice little brown color. Up. Just kidding. Just realized I messed up the order, but that's okay. So yellow and purple make a neutral as well. Then I'm going to split this in half and do a little more purple on one side. And then more purple. And then I'm going to work backward on the other side. So I'll do a little bit more yellow. And then more yellow. Okay. So I'm doing that. This is almost like watercolor thickness, just because I was very sparing with my paint. You don't need to be as sparing, but it doesn't hurt anything either. Just want you to make sure that you know how to mix the colors and how to create neutrals. It's very important in painting. All right, here we go. Now our last little combo here, blue and orange. I'm gonna get a little bit of blue over here, or a little orange and a little blue. Mix these together. Wow, that was too much blue. More orange. More orange. More orange. There we go, getting better. Okay, I think we got it. There's a neutral. Split that pile in half. More orange on one side. And a lot more orange. Okay, then I'm gonna rinse my brush and do the other side with blue. And then more blue. Okay. So there's some neutrals. You can get so many different colors of neutrals. These are just a couple ideas and a couple swatches to show you what that looks like. So for example, if you're painting a green tree, or like say a big, forest of trees, your green trees in the foreground are going to be very green. They'll be like this. But as they start going off into the distance, they're going to look more like this color because there's a little bit of red in there neutralizing as it goes off into the distance. You're just neutralizing that color because you have to account for atmosphere somehow. Okay, so this last part, you're going to need a little bit of white and black on your palette here. If you need more room, I get it. I'm usually a pretty messy painter, so I get paint everywhere. Okay, so you can go ahead and put white. It's a little bit redundant, white paint on white paper, but hey, seems necessary. Feels weird when you don't do it. Then we're going to do some black on the edges here, at the other ends. Pure black on each end cap. So on the top one here, I like to use whatever color I have most of left over. Or maybe I'll just use this purple because it's pretty. And I'll put that right here in the center. You can use any color you want there, as long as you have enough of it to play with. And what you'll do then is split that pile in half and add a little bit of black to one side to get one shade darker, and then more black to get it to be almost fully black here. Lighter colors are probably going to show up a little bit better. Now you'll see it as it gets lighter. So on the other side, you're going to add a little bit of white. And then a little bit more white. There you go. Now what you're going to do, this last one, is just a scale from white to black. So I like to get kind of a mid-tone first with a little bit of black and a little bit of white. That's a pretty good mid-tone, I think. And put that right in the middle. And then I break this up and I do a little bit more white. Get another shade here. And then a little more white. And what's on my brush to get an even lighter shade. Tint, I suppose that's called. Then I'll rinse my brush and add a little bit of black to this side. And then a little more black. Here we go. Now we have a scale from white to black. So this is our color theory. What we learn here is about how to mix colors, your secondaries. You're learning how to mix from your primaries, red, yellow, and blue, all the secondary colors. So that's orange, green, and purple or violet. And then you're learning how to mix the colors in between these too as well. And then over here, you're learning about intensity and how to make colors look a little bit duller. Right here, you're learning about value, how to know the lightness or darkness of a specific color, and then value without color. So that's what you've learned here.